See, here's the thing we want to remember. Yesterday is a canceled check. It's gone. Can't bring it back. Tomorrow is a promissory note. It's not promised to us. I hope I make it till tomorrow. But the day is the only cash we have on hand. How are you going to spend your life's currency?
Hello and welcome to the Real Success Show. I'm your host, Candice Mama. If you've ever asked yourself, how do I become confident in silence? How do I win over friends and influence people? How do I make that sale? Or how do I win over that romantic partner? Well then, today's guest is just for you. Linda Clemons is considered one of the world's best body language experts. She's been featured alongside some of the biggest names in the world. And today, to share that expertise with us, is the one and only Linda Clemons. But before we jump into it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now, here's Linda. Hello, Linda, and welcome to the Real Success Show.
Thank you so much, Candice, for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
You know, I've been looking forward to speaking to you. And the reason is your energy. When you speak, there's just I don't know how to phrase it, but there's just like, you can't look away. It's like you come in, you have such a vibrancy, you've got such an energy. And I think that's so beautiful. And it's actually no coincidence what you do. You are a body language expert. What does that actually mean?
So let me tell you this, and again, thank you for that compliment. I think part of my energy, if you will, is that every morning that I wake up, Candice, it's about being in a state of gratitude. My granny used to say, honey, it could be better or it can be worse. You could be riding in a hearse. So anytime I'm above ground, I'm excited because I believe that I'm walking in my purpose. So what a body language expert does, when we communicate quite often, those who are able to do the spoken word verbally. We communicate with our tonality, but our primary language, our primitive language, is our nonverbal communication. Think about it. Even as little babies, we couldn't utter a word, but we made sounds, and we reacted when we wanted to be fed, picked up and hugged and cuddled, go to sleep when we were cranky. Even back to, they say, primitive caveman days, it was the grunts and the sounds, and we moved about. And of course, these signals are primitive all over the world. There is a saying that goes, and it's a quote by Emerson, which is one of my favorite, Candice, and it goes like this. I cannot hear what you're saying. I cannot hear what you are saying because who you are being is getting in the way. Wow. See, we both did at the same time. We both felt that. I cannot hear what you're saying because who you are being is getting in the way. And it depends on the part of the world that you're in. Many people have heard the saying, actions speak louder than words. And my late granny would say, honey, I hear you talking, but I don't see you walking. And so therefore our nonverbal dominates. There was a communication theory done by Dr. Maharabian on the study of nonverbal communication. And in his study, well over 50 years ago, as a matter of fact, I believe he's still at UCLA. Well over 50 years ago, in his study, it said that our words, Candice, are 7% of our communication. 7%. Now, a couple of other experts may challenge that, or they may challenge the study. But my question to you and your audience, are the words that are coming out of your mouth, are they powerful or powerless? Are they passionate or passive? Or are they potent or poison? Words. Every actor in Hollywood right now, every actor around the world is waiting for that script with the right words. But also in the study, he said that our tonality is 38% of our communication. So there's a saying that goes, it's not just what you say or how you say it, but I'm going to remix that. It's really what they hear and what's so important. So if I said to you, Candice, I really like your outfit. Okay, someone else around the world will say, oh my gosh, she must be jealous of Candice. So she's not really serious. Her tone, even though my words said, Candice, I really like your outfit. But if I says, Candice, I really like your outfit. The tone makes a difference. And 55%, according to the study, is nonverbal communication. So it's body language. So when you add the 55 and the 38, that's 93% of our communication. And what happens if we don't speak the same language? Now that's gone out the words. So if I do this around the world, welcome, without saying a word, welcome. If I touch my heart, if I smile, these are universal signals. So body language is really critical.
I did not know that 93%. I thought it was about 70% roughly that is body language, and then 30% is words. So when we
So,
are,
so
yeah, go on.
38 is tonality and 55 is nonverbal. So if you add those two together, there's your 93%. Wow.
So it's not even what you're saying, right? The words that are coming out of your mouth are only ruling 7%. So
Yes.
what does that you like make for language users, like for speakers, for communicators, for people in sales, who are always using words and they think the right words will get them the right results? How should they
Right.
start getting into a space where with the 93%, they can start having it within their control, or at least within their conscious understanding?
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's why you're the interviewer extraordinaire. I love that question. If those are listening, it's coming from her heart. I love it. Okay, so here is the thing. Think about this. When you see actors, Matthew McConaughey, Denzel Washington, Anthony Hopkins, those people, whether they're method actors, they get into the role. They believe the words. Joaquin Phillips, when he did the Joker, it was like so scary. They become that character. When you say the words, if you do not mean them, if you do not mean them, then rest of the body will not be in sync. This is very critical. So let's say to the men out there that are watching, and to the women out there, fellas, have you ever been in a situation where your partner, your spouse, your significant other says to you, and watch me very carefully and listen, yes, I do love you. I'm really good. I'm not upset. Yeah. You don't believe it. Number one, the words are saying it. The tone is a little off, but you notice that the body language is closed off. So here's a sound bite for your audience. Whatever is on your mind will come out in your matter. So whatever you think about, you be about. If you think, oh gosh, I have to do this presentation, I've got the next interview to do, I know my sales script by heart. But if you know your sales script by memory, and by heart, as we would say, you know it by memory. But if your heart isn't in it, it's not going to come across. So if you get up on that stage and says, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you about my latest product, and this product can help those loved ones who are suffering with heart disease, diabetes. And if I was in the audience, I'm thinking, does he or she really mean it? Or are they just going through the motions? As opposed of you getting up on the stage and you're pausing and you're looking at the audience. Is there someone that you know, love, or care about that is suffering from diabetes, heart disease, or even cancer? I have a solution for you. Oh my gosh, you got me at hello. See the difference of the words and being committed to it. And Candice, that's what happens with so many speakers, sales professionals, people who are trying to persuade or negotiate. They do not come across as authentic because they only have the words to memory, and they don't have their heart in the words.
It's so crazy that when you were giving us the example of the salesperson, when you did the second example, I couldn't help but smile because my body literally had chills because I was like, oh my goodness, just the way you were expressing it, right? The pauses. And I know for a lot of people, silence is extremely uncomfortable. So to be able to do that pregnant pause, to be able to connect in that slow, methodical way can be very scary for them. So how do people start getting comfortable in the silence in order to actually deliver a good talk or have a good conversation with someone without trying to fill the air?
Oh, that's so good. Listen, silence can be used as a tool or as a weapon. Keep that in mind. As a tool, as a weapon. So what would happen? Now watch this, everyone. I want you to watch my face. I'm going to talk to you about the face. And I want you to listen to my vocal tone. So if I was talking to say, let's say someone out there in the audience, let's say Harry, Javier, or Henry, whatever I'm talking to you as a gentleman. And if I say to you, I don't know about you, but if I were you, I wouldn't take that position. Now listen to the tone. And then when I say I wouldn't take that position because I didn't say a word. Now what happens is based on the tone and the delivery, the consumer, the customer, the client will begin to fill in the blanks. We are the only creatures on earth, Candice, that worry about things that haven't happened yet. So what would happen, Candice, if you didn't get to the church on time? What would happen if your fiance didn't make it? What would happen if all of a sudden that he, what? See, we are those kind of creatures. So when you build your presentation and your delivery as a speaker, because I work with speakers and helping them in storytelling and knowing when to use the pregnant pause and know when to use silence. The reason why in sales, the pause is so important. And many of you have always heard, and Candice, tell me if you might have heard this saying before, the first one that speaks is the first one that loses. And they usually talk about this in a sales situation. So if you ask your customer, your client, a buying or closing question, in other words, which one would you like to use, which purchase, product A, B, or C? Now, you giving them a choice, and that's when the pause comes in. That's when the silence. Why is that? Because the customer is running through their mind the pros and the cons in making that commitment. Listen very carefully. The reason why we get uncomfortable with the silence, it's not the customer, it's you. You're wanting to fill in the blank. And the first one who speaks, that's why they say the first one speaks, first one loses, because when you speak, you're interrupting the movie that's playing in their head. And here is the movie. Okay, if I make this investment, oh my gosh, will it work? Will it be worth it? Oh gosh, do I need to do this? Where will I get the money? But yes, I do need it, because if I don't do it, they are playing those scenarios. And ladies and gentlemen, if you interrupt that, now you gave me a reason to get out of the deal. So allow the pause as long as it takes. And when they look at you, if you're doing face-to-face, video to video, virtual to virtual, and they're pausing, so which product, which plan would you like to start with? And you smile and don't say a word. Allow them to speak first. It is important and it takes practice. There's practice in a powerful pause. Oh!
Oh my goodness. I absolutely am loving every part of this. And I know whenever we hear the term body language, a lot of people think to themselves, oh my goodness, Linda is a psychic. Like literally she must be, because she can read everything. I'm so scared to talk to her because like she's going to read everything. Should I cross my arms? You know? And so when we're thinking about body language, when we're trying to detect if someone is being truthful to us, let's say we're on the other side of a sales call or a sales conversation or anything, a date, whatever it may be, and a person's giving us information to consider, but we don't know how to read if they are telling us the truth and if this is actually a good opportunity or option for us. Where can we start when we're assessing someone else's body language towards us?
Oh, this is so good. So first of all, everyone out there, make sure you've got your pen and paper or you're taking your electronic notes. I recommend your pen and paper because when you write it down, you own it. You own it. So here's the thing that I want you to remember in your sales presentation, which is very, very critical. Bodies talk to other bodies. Minds talk to other minds. Have you ever been sitting with someone and all of a sudden you're looking at a situation and you both look at each other and said the exact same thing? Are you both feeling the same thing? That's the kind of energy that we have. Now, here is the thing that is important. Write this down. Tap. Think of tap dancing. T as in Tom, A as in Apple, P as in Paul. The T stands for being truthful. Being truthful. When you start off in your truthful self, being authentic and honest, it shows up. Truthful, very critical. because if you are truthful, your words, your tone, and your nonverbal will be congruent. The second letter is A, authentic. Be who you are. It takes a lot of work, my family, to be someone else. Be who you are because the fake will fade. Mm. When you're trying to fake it, Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. When you're trying to fake it, eventually the fake will fade. So T is for truthful, A is for authentic, and P stands for proof. So when you go in and say, I'm going to tap, I'm going to tap, I can dance, I'm going to tap. So I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to be authentic. Why? I want it to show up in the proof. So when I'm speaking to my customer, my client, or the prospect, they feel comfortable with your energy because you are being your authentic self. Now, we have 43 facial muscles in our face. Now, there are many of you who are detailed, analytical, and you're going to just Google that and see how many facial muscles. And Google, of course, it has been one of my clients in the past, would say this. They would say we would have 42 muscles. Listen to Linda, because Google didn't count the tongue. There are 43 facial muscles. Now we use at least 27 of them to make really over 10,000 different expressions. What's so critical? In the United States, that's where I'm from, eye contact is acceptable anywhere from 65% up to 70% of the time. Different parts of the world's a little bit different. In Asian cultures, the extended eye contact can be disrespectful. So what you want to do to see if someone is comfortable, and this is important, Candice, and family, write it down. You want to know what a person's baseline is. Base like baseball, line like drawing a line. Baseline. Baseline is who a person is in under normal circumstance without any stress, who they are, So just like Candice and I were sister friends, and the next thing you know, Candice introduces me to someone, and they come back to Candice and says, oh my gosh, that Linda's a little crazy. She's a little this, and I don't know if Linda likes me or not. Candice says, oh no, that's just Linda. Well, she knows my baseline, but the other individual may not. So a baseline is who the person is under normal circumstance without stress. Now, here's when you begin to see when people are uncomfortable, when they begin to variate or deviate, if you will, from their baseline. So let me give you an example. How many of you have children out there? I'm gonna make it an easy question. How many of you ever been a child before? Every hand should go up, right? Okay, so just imagine the child comes home from school every single day, takes the backpack off, tosses it down, goes to the refrigerator, gets a snack, and next thing they got playing on the computer. They do it every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then one day on Thursday, Billy or little Linda didn't do it. You go, this is the first time we go, Then Friday, didn't happen. Okay, start back the school week again, comes home, doesn't do it. Okay, here's what's taking place. You know something's wrong because the child is out of their what? Baseline. So when you are building that rapport, and that's very critical in the sales process, Candice, because in the sales process, the customer is thinking, you're trying to get my money. You're thinking, I want to get your money. And what happens is they're going to the part of the brain called the amygdala. Everybody write that down, amygdala. Or another word for it is the reptilian part of the brain. That's the fear, fight, flight part of the brain. And when we spend money, and for those of you that are in sales, the higher the ticket price of the package or the product or services that you're selling, the higher the ticket price without any emotional attachment, the higher the stress. And it also triggers the pain center in our brain. Wow, we could do a whole thing just on sales alone. So now, how do you tell if someone is being deceptive? When they begin to change the movements. If they're excited about what you're saying, I'm excited about being here on the show. I'm excited about sharing with you. And if you notice, I'm leaning in. So when your prospect is leaning in, and then all of a sudden, let's just say you did not do a great rapport building or warm up, and now they're not really ready to get into the sales presentation, and you just dive right in, then all of a sudden their body language goes like this. Whew. Thus the term taken aback. How many times, Candice, have someone said something to you that was quite shocking, and you go, "Oh my gosh"? We don't naturally go, "Oh my gosh." We are taken aback. If I'm telling you a secret and say, "Everyone, come in," you automatically draw in. So we draw into things that we're interested in and curious about or like, and we're away from things that we may fear of danger or taken aback. So you'll begin to watch that in your presentation. Now, here's another little tip that I want to give you. And perhaps later on, Candice and I may do something special for those single folks out there, for those that are married, because I used to do a workshop for my C-suite executives titled Chocolate After Midnight. Chocolate After Midnight. And there are 21 moves that you can do to have the person of your desire totally into you. We'll get to that at another time. So when someone is being deceptive, watch this. So tell me where you were last night. Tell me what you did, what was going on. So if people practice the story, they practice the story, and sales professionals, I want you to listen to me. If someone practiced the story or the responses, they'll practice. So, so Candice, it was 2 o'clock and I went home and there was an accident I heard about and blah, 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 right? And then all of a sudden, when I interview, and I'm trained in analytical interviewing, which is a nice word for interrogation. Keep that between us. So when I'm interviewing witnesses or suspects, I'll say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, can you tell me on February the 2nd, where was your son? Where was your brother? So they're telling me the story. Okay. And I'm going like this. Now watch this. Taking a deep breath. Okay, good. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything that you said and shared with me. Do you mind taking it from the end? People who are being deceptive or lying cannot tell the story backwards. So that's one little tip, that when you do your recap, I just want to make sure that I've got everything right. You've used this client, you used this company before. This is the challenges that you have. That way, when you go over the details, you watch how they affirm it. And then you say, can you elaborate a little bit more on this point? If they're committed to the story, and if it's true, they can tell you all the details. If not, they can't. And people who are being deceptive, Candice, they are normally, when they're telling the story, they're very still, because they're thinking about it as they go along, and they're trying to watch and gauge your facial expressions to see if you're buying into it. So there's all kinds of tricks and strategies and cues that we can learn, but those are just a couple of tips.
Oh, those are all so good. I feel like in just that little session, we learned so much, right? And it made me think, as you were talking about, women, as we've gone through this evolution of all of a sudden, becoming more independent, more women are graduating than ever before. We're going into the business world. We're taking over the world. As all the men are like, whoa. Exactly. Exactly. And so as we are moving through this, I think there's a lot that we are losing in our communication through our bodies, right? I feel it too. Sometimes I feel as though I'm perceived as a little more aggressive, or like as a little bit more matter-of-factly than I actually am in my mind. So as women, how do we start looking at ourselves objectively without judgment, and in a way that we can improve ourselves without like lashing ourselves and judging ourselves for it?
Absolutely. So always remember this: as women, we are powerful just being a woman. And every woman out there, I want you to know that no one exists on this earth without coming through a woman first. Without coming to them. So that's how powerful you are. But sometimes we forget and we surrender our power. So what I can honor and respect about you, Candice, is that it's not that yes, you're a matter of fact, but what's important to you, and reading your body language, is order and structure and getting things done. Not just flip-flopping around, let's get it done. So therefore, when you are in your power command, the words may come across as a matter of fact, and let's do this. But when you are feeling and in your emotional realm, and you did it a couple of times here unconsciously, you automatically will tilt your head, and then your voice softens. Then you get into your emotional connection there. It's very hard somehow to do it with the level head. And in being a powerful businesswoman, you have to keep a level head. And quite often, when you are communicating with people, you're very tall, you're very elegant, but you have a powerful presence. Just your presence alone, sometimes people can be intimidated. But as long as you know who you are, which is important. So when you are giving information that is very important and you want your team to take it serious, and I want everyone to watch me. Now watch me. And that's what and Candice, you have great tone in your voice. And we can do a whole show just on tone, and the wet voice that Marilyn Monroe used to use. So we could do a whole thing on that. But just imagine if you are speaking to your team, Candice, and we've got deadlines to meet. If you said, okay, team, we're getting close to the end of the month. We've got 3 goals that we have to meet, and we all have to pitch in and get it done. Are we all committed? Okay, now that's one thing. But if you say to your team like this, okay, team, we've got 3 goals that we see. You see, even my voice changes. The voice changes. And therefore, the body language and the tone, that's why sometimes children don't know when to take us serious or not. Okay, don't do that anymore. As opposed when my mom said, don't do that anymore. See, the tone matches the nonverbal. So the brain is saying, okay, Candice and Linda, what do you want to do? Do you want to feel compassion or do you want to let them know this is serious? Tell me what you want to do, because the truth brain is going to send out the movements to match the tone. What do you want to do? And that's what's so critical. Now, as women, we have a tendency to give up our power when we're doing presentations. When we're doing presentations, ladies, I'm gonna try to stand up for those that are watching. We have a tendency sometimes to do hand hugs. You ever see this, Candice, where they're like, we're doing the presentation and you're going like, it's like saying, I want my mommy. I want my mommy. So, and this happens when you're doing your powerful presentation and you're in a diverse room, men, women, all backgrounds, and everyone's looking at you, and poor introverts get really nervous with this, but you're doing your presentation and then someone raises their hand and says, look, I don't think it's going to work. Our company tried it before, and we lost money. The moment that you hear that, if it's negative to you, it comes out in the mind. Now the brain is saying, alert, alert, alert. And next thing you know, the body goes into protective mode. And because you thought verbally attacked, then all of a sudden you do the hand hug, the body hug. And by the way, in body language, the higher the hold, and I'm watching people's arms, the higher the hold, the higher the stress. So ladies, don't do that. That's why, and men, we talk about steepling. It's the steeple. You're familiar with that, with the tips of the thumbs right near the navel, and allow that to be your pyramid and speak from your base. Well, that's a good question, Charlie. Thank you for your comments, Sandra. Thank you so much. So you can go right back to your base and do not let them rock you at your core.
Oh, that is so powerful, because I've seen it happen, right? And I love the speaking industry, and I actually really gravitate towards women. Now, when you're speaking about the steeple, right, and these power positions that we hold when we're doing talks, or when you're running a company, or whatever position it is that you're holding where you need to have a command or authority, that's one thing. However, I find that sometimes what tends to at least come through my chats or through my conversations is women will say to me, or say to something like, Linda, I am this, high power woman. And when I get home, I forget. I forget that I'm still in power woman position, and I'm getting home and doing the same commands at home to my husband or my partner.
Every partner out there, a spouse out there that's listening, they will tell their spouse, don't bring that blank home here. Okay. You're not. And we bring that energy home. And then next thing you know, it creates a disconnect. It creates uncomfortability in the household. And quite often, and I can always tell with employees when I'm working with many of my corporate clients, when people are having challenges at home, quite often they bring it to work. So you can see that. Here is the thing, wherever you're at, everyone write this down. Wherever you are, be 100% present in the presence of who you're with. Think about what I'm saying. Wherever you are, be 100% present in the person who you're in their presence. Why is that important? Listen to what I'm saying. When you're at work, you could only give your 100% there. The mind can only hold one given thought at any given time unless you were Einstein. Einstein was able to do that from both sides of the brain. He was able to do all that. Unless you were Einstein or Einstein was your baby daddy. Unless that's what you can only do that. So that means whatever you think of the longest becomes the strongest. So when you are at work and when you walk out the door, you're off the clock. So now that when you go in, the child wants to see mommy. The worst thing that can happen when the child says, mommy, you're always working, even when you're at home. When the spouse does not get that same thing that you used to do to get him, you're not doing it to keep him. Because you can only be present when you're 100% present. And that's where the discipline of strong leaders come in. Whatever is at work, you leave it there. And now you're at home because now you have a different kind of work to do. You are growing people. You're helping that little one become not just a human being, a better human being. You're helping that little one become a better human becoming. You're helping your spouse and connecting on a deeper level with them. And you can't do it when the body is there and the mind is at work. So be 100% present in whoever's presence. That's the key, and that's the discipline. And that's the thing that gives you the balance. People talk about work-life balance. No such thing. Because let me tell you why. This is my opinion. Let me tell you why. Because you may be the one in the relationship that has to give the 90% because because the spouse, something may be off. They may be going through. Sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes 60-40. You may have to be the one, but you have to be prepared all times. So to balance work, the balance is just being 100% present wherever you are. Wherever you are. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and they're looking right at you? And then you ask them a question and then they go, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My mind was somewhere else. Oh my gosh. You know how that feels? Apparently that what I was saying may not be that important. And I've seen this happen when employees and children are reaching out to talk to their parents or their boss or their coworkers, and they may be going through something at that moment. And they come to you, and you are not emotionally, nor mentally, nor physically available. And the next thing you know, you hear about something happen, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, they tried to communicate to me. So in order to do that, as you are growing your business, if it's important, if you have loved ones in your life, find a way to incorporate them in the business so that they can be a part of it rather than distant from it. And that takes work. But let me tell you, what a wonderful life lesson, because that will help you collaborate with teams, be present with your leaders, be present with your subordinates and your team members, is always remember being present. I got to tell you, a friend of mine, he had said to me, he says, Linda, you know, what I really love about you, you're a great communicator. And it's not that I'm a great communicator, I take the compliment, but every time that I'm in his presence, I'm a great listener. And people today are wanting people to listen to them. That's why the world's doing everything to grab your attention. So when you can master that, that will take your EQ, your emotional intelligence, to the next level.
Wow. There's so much in that where I want us to go to. And I think for me, a lot of what you said also came back to, that living in the moment, being where you are when you are there instead of projecting or being in the past, right? And I think that tends to influence us when we are in the moment with someone, whether that be a date, whether that be a negotiation, whatever it is, we bringing versions of ourselves into this encounter. And so that's where my question stems from. If someone is sitting in, whether it be a negotiation, because I also believe dating is a negotiation in many ways, or on a date, and this person is saying things, and maybe there's an unhealed part of themselves, that is just like, and maybe someone triggers that unhealed part of them as they are in that moment. What is the best way for them to still hear? Because maybe the person is not being malicious. They're not coming from a malicious place. They're not doing anything. But because of your own conditioning, you start to project onto this person what happened in the past. I remember the last time someone said this. This is exactly how it's going to work out. How do we avoid falling into former pitfalls when we are human beings who live on memory and, the past or trauma?
So here's what I want everyone to remember this. Hurt people hurt people. So when someone is wounded, and when a person is wounded, you can tell from their body language, you can tell from their words, you can tell from their movement, you can tell from their posture. Someone who is wounded and depressed and sad, their shoulders are not back, they're down. Woe me, woe me. So if you're having a conversation with that person and they're always talking about, say, something negative that's happened to them, what you want to do is flip it and say questions like this. So what did you learn from that? If you were to do it over again, how would you make the outcome more positive? Because you have to want to try or attempt to shift the emotional state. That's very, very critical. See, here's the thing we want to remember. Yesterday is a canceled check. It's gone. Can't bring it back. Tomorrow is a promissory note. It's not promised to us. I hope I make it till tomorrow. But the day is the only cash we have on hand. How are you going to spend your life's currency? How are you going to spend that 31,500,000 and what, 34 seconds or 43 seconds in a year? How are you going to spend it over your 86,000 seconds a day? How are you going to spend it? So you choose at that moment. And many people have accomplished or acquired to the state of, and psychology calls it, learned helplessness. Some people just want to be helpless. They want to be miserable. They are committed to that state of mind because that's where their comfort zone is. Is it the fear that if I change my mindset or my emotional state, will I be rejected? Will I be accepted? What am I running the risk? So sometimes people have been down so long that they don't know what it feels like to be up. So when I have someone always talking about it, rather than feed more fuel into it, and then someone says, you know what, that was the worst, that marriage, I don't think I'll ever get married again. I don't think I'll ever get married again. That was the worst relationship. And they're talking, I says, so how was your two beautiful children? You see what I just did? I flipped that right then and there, because now, without saying a word, without challenging that person, so they'll think, oh, you're taking his side, I would say, if I know that from that union, two beautiful children came from that union. So how are your two beautiful kids? Wow. So we went from the amygdala, the fight part of the brain, fear, fight, flight, fight part of the brain. I took them to the midbrain. The kids are wonderful. They're my joy. You see what I did? Just like that. We can do that in negotiation. We can do that in sales. We can do that even with our family and our communication. We can do there's a training course that I do from time to time. It's like sales hypnotherapy. It's the words that we use that massage different parts of the brain that allows collaboration, commitment, and compliance, just using the right words. That's why my brothers and my sisters. That's why family, it is so critical that you just don't go out and wing your presentation. And Candice, you prepared, you're good at what you're doing because you have created a pattern that you prepare for your interviews. You've got a poise that goes along with it. If you are about to do the biggest deal of your life and you don't practice, every actor in Hollywood that's won the Oscar, oh my gosh. So how do you get to Carnegie Hall? It's not just practice, it's perfect practice. So if you are preparing the words, and this is what I have my master students do, I'll say, you've got 60 seconds to sell me this cell phone, to sell me this bottle of water, to sell me this stapler. You've got 60 seconds to rock my world. And quite often they freeze because they're trying to do the pre-plan memorize as opposed of talking about the benefit, of talking about the pain, talking about what the customer is trying to eliminate and calling it out. If you are out there listening to me, and if you are having a headache, I want you to think about this. Are you in a room full of people and there's a meeting going on and you've got an excruciating headache? You're not hearing anything, but all of a sudden, if I say to you, I want to talk to you about aspirin, that's like calling their name and calling out their pain. So when you create and develop your script that travels through different parts of the brain, that's when you get collaboration and partnership in sales, negotiation, and getting your husband, your spouse, your partner to take out the garbage, and getting the kids to do what you want to do, and getting that person of your desire to fall in love with you. Strategies to become a people magnet, all in your words and how it's placed and with the tone. And most people says, I don't want to commit to a script. You are committing to the script when you do it. You're memorizing, you're doing the same thing over and over again. That's a script. When you are a host of a show, I did radio for 15 years in TV. When you're host of the show, you have your outtake, you have your greeting. That's a script. Just because it's not written down, it's written up here. So then you become that award-winning superstar whose sole desire is to serve and transform the individual who's standing before you. That is your mission.
Oh, man. And what I'm hearing is purpose. There's so much around what you just shared with us that is purpose driven, because if you are operating from a place of purpose and service, then that's what you want, right? You want to bring out the best in others. You want others to feel as though your presence has impacted them in a positive way, in a way that mobilizes them forward. And for people who have gone through the past few years and say, Linda, I don't even know what my purpose is anymore. I used to think I knew. The person I was 2-3 years ago felt like, they were moving and they were going about their life. And now all of a sudden I'm rethinking everything. How do people start finding their way back to themselves?
That's a great question. And what's even more important right now? Our world has been rocked. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And it's changing the way we do things, changing the way we communicate, even doing virtual workshops, teaching people how to come across virtually is very important. You notice I'm using my hands and I'm exposing my palms. There's science behind all of that. But here's a saying that it's one of my favorite sayings that I want you to remember this. And everybody, please, I want you to write it down and hold on to it. And I want you to look at it every day. So if you're working at a job in corporate America, or you're working for a family member or whatever, it doesn't matter, you work in a company, always remember this. Your job is what you're paid for. Your purpose is what you were made for. I wanted you to have that, post it, put it in your mirror, wherever you could see it. Your job is what you're paid for. Your purpose is what you're made for. So if you are an entrepreneur, most people move from working in corporate America, working a job to pursue their dream, be it in theater, be it being a doctor, or being it owning their own business or creating something. Always remember your job is what you were paid for. Your purpose is what you were made for. So how do you know? I truly believe that every human being on earth was put here with the gift inside of them to be able to give it to the world. Listen to me very carefully. You were designed to solve a problem that has your name on it. Why am I saying that? When you solve a problem that has your name on it, you will never, ever have to worry about eating again. You will never be broke. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a car, appliance, or something that you needed to get fixed, and you've taken it to several places and no one can fix it? And then you meet someone that's considered, let's say, a master car mechanic that's retired. And the guy, he'll look at the car, the girl, the woman would look at the car, the guy would look at the car and say, try to start it up. It won't start. I've been to several places, it just won't work. Hold on a minute. And then all of a sudden he goes like, makes a tap, does this, start it again, and it starts. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, how much do I owe you? $2,000. $2,000. You didn't do anything but just tapped it there. He says, no, it's not the tap you're paying for. You're paying for the person who knew where to tap. Whoa! So here is what I'm saying to you. You were designed to solve a problem on earth. The thing that is your purpose, when you have tried different jobs, when you have tried different projects and you try everything, I'm gonna try this business, I'm gonna try network marketing, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that. And then all of a sudden you just think, I don't know. I just don't know. Goodness, what I'm supposed to do, because your calling and your purpose says, when are you gonna come over here and visit me? You know, you're trying everything else, but your purpose, I'm sitting here waiting for you. I'm what you're made for. And it's your purpose that speaks to you at night. It's your purpose. But how do you know? So let me tell you this. I have a friend, dear friend, very well known, that growing up, this particular gentleman, every time something goes on in the community and around the world, he would get incensed. In the community, if the least of the people were not being served, he would get upset. Someone should do something. Someone should do something. Someone should feed the hungry. Someone should help the homeless. And I'm looking at him. Why won't anybody do anything? I said, because that was your assignment the Creator gave to you. That was your assignment. That's why it's bugging you. It's calling you. So the thing that you call out, the thing that you notice that everyone notices, well, you know what? I think that if they have this kind of decor, wow, this would sell, this and this. Now, next thing you know, you're staging homes all over the country for big realtors because you had that eye. Oh, if the picture was here, that the calling, whatever the problem is calling you, it's been waiting on you. So my friend now is a big social justice activist. He's on television doing everything because his calling was calling him. So when someone says somebody should do this, I don't know why they won't do this. Why won't they change this? You know what? I know we're having our live summit where we all come together. We could organize it better. It was calling you to be the event coordinator. So your purpose is built in you. It's waiting to get out. And I want to say this, I think it was the late Irma Bombach that said, when she leaves the earth, and I love this, and she stands before her maker, she wants to stand empty. And she will say to her maker, I used everything you gave me, left it on earth, and I stand before you empty. And that's what we're designed for. You don't want to take, as my friend Les Brown would say, take all those dreams to the graveyard. No, you, of the 6 billion people in the world, you, Candice, was chosen to do what you're doing. You, Linda, was chosen to do what you're doing. You, Sam, you, Juan, you, Cindy, you were chosen to do what you were doing. That's why it hasn't been done, because you have not done it. And you have to quit running away from your purpose. Because one of my favorite books, a bestseller of all time, that says, your gifts and your talents will make room for you in the world. So we're doing when we're running around trying to decide, I just don't know what my calling is, because you are ignoring the voice. How do I know? Because there are things that we've gotten involved in don't we know? There's choices that we made mistakes. And quite often we'll say to ourselves, something told me not to do it. So if something told you then, why aren't you listening to it now? It's your calling. It's your calling.
I've got chills from that. I feel like it was a sermon so compact because it is so true. And I think for me, I remember that when I started really walking my path, I mean, I knew it from a very early age, more or less what I was going to do. But I think my brother said to me once, he said, and he's so much younger than me, 7 years younger. And he said at like his ripe old age of 17. He said, the problem with you is you keep saying it's common sense. Anyone would know this. Anyone could do that. Anyone could do this. And he's like, have you ever thought that maybe not everyone can do it and only you can do it? And I remember looking at him and being like, okay, get on that stage and preach.
This is a hug for your brother.
And everything you said just echoed that sentiment. And I think when things come naturally to us, we don't value it. And I think it was Les Brown actually who said, it was either Les Brown or Eric Thomas. And one of them said, if the stars only came out once in a century, when we knew they'd be coming out again, it would be an event. We would want to behold them. But because they come out every night, we don't even bother to look at them. And I think that's what purpose is. When it comes so easily to you and you can breathe it in, it's almost like you take it for granted until you have to start using it and moving towards it again. So I absolutely love everything you just said there. It just gave me so many chills. And as we're coming to the end of our interview, there's a question that I know our viewers would kill me if I didn't ask, because it's something I get asked, especially for the past 2 years. And I think because of the isolation, the separation from others, the loneliness people have experienced, or even the dissolution of partnerships, a lot of people ask me, they go, how do I become a better version of myself in order to come into union with someone who's made for me? I don't want to necessarily persuade people to love me, but I want to be the best version of myself that when the right person comes, I am ready for it. So what are some things that people can do out there to prepare themselves to be with the right person?
One of the things that you want to keep in mind, I think it was Cardi B that says, I ain't got no competition, I'm competing with myself. Simone Biles, she's one of the greatest gymnasts of all time. So now she's competing with herself to her next level. Each and every day, first thing you want to do is when you wake up every morning is to say, wow, I was able to wake up, someone else didn't. I was able to wake up. So you thank your creator and all the things that you are grateful for that you receive, right? And you also thank your creator for what you are about to receive. I want to thank you for sending me the right partner. I want to thank you for sending me the right husband. I want to thank you for sending me the right wife, the right partner, the husband, the wife. I want to thank you for sending me a loving and kind person. I want to thank you for bringing me to the state of being kind. I want to thank you for the commitment of doing one kind act every day. I want to thank you for the commitment of me going into a negative fast. That means for 30 days, make a commitment that you say or do nothing negative, and then begin to journal like all the good things that emerged from that. Number one, wow, when I could have responded to that, that could have been a big argument in my family, my office, my team. But here's what happened. It allowed me to be more calmer and to observe all parts of the story, all sides of the story. Wow, now I'm activating my empathy. So challenge yourself for a negative fast, because we live in a world where we have more negative thoughts than we do positive thoughts. So challenge yourself for that for the next 30 days. Now, why am I saying that to you? Because as you are beginning to go through that process, a transformation that will take place. In addition to doing your negative fast for the next 30 days, say nothing or do nothing negative, you're going to be giving. So that simply means you're going to do one act of kindness every day for 30 days. The reason why I'm telling you to do this, it's not what you give that's going to take place. It's what the becoming and the transformation that takes place with you, because emotions transfer over. So can you imagine that you are in line and you're getting your latte, your cup of coffee, and then you're in line and you say to the representative, and say, you'll say to her, can you buy the coffee of the person? I want to pay for it for the person behind me. And then you pull up and you look at the expression in their face. The moment that you see that smile, then the serotonin and the feel-good chemicals start going in you and you're feeling good. Wow, it's what becomes of you. Now, the reason why I'm saying this to you, remember earlier that Candice mentioned about my energy, that energy, that inner fire, that inner glow, that thing will begin to radiate. And when it begins to radiate, you become a magnet. Do you want to become a prosperity magnet where money is drawn to you? Do you want to become a people magnet that people will walk up to you and say, I don't know what it is, there's something about you, I just wanted to compliment you, because it will radiate. That light that has been on dim will become bright, and others can't help but be drawn to it. Always remember this: when someone is in darkness, when someone was in a cave, all they have to do is see a glimmer of light and they're drawn to it. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to bring out that light in you. And the person, the partner, the spouse that you're looking for will seek you out. It is important. And in closing, I want to say there are 31,536,000 seconds in a year. You've only got a minute, 60 seconds in it, forced upon you. You didn't seek it. You didn't choose it. You are hurt if you lose it. You're accountable if you abuse it. It's only a tiny little minute, but the rest of your future is in it. Love and peace to you.
Whoa. Wow. I mean, I am laughing because I think it's the first time in an interview where I am both speechless and in awe of what's being said, because it is so incredibly important. And I think if people just consume this, if people just consume this interview and they actually implemented it, it would transform their whole life, because our life, as you said, is so short. And when people have access to this kind of information and they put it into practice in their life, like a negativity fast, I mean, that is mind-blowing, and it is crucial to living a better state of being and experiencing what it feels like to be, as you said, to be. It's not necessarily what you're giving, but what you're becoming in the process. And that was just unreal, so beautiful. And I've only got two final questions for you because we've come to the end of our interview. But, you know, Linda, where you are right now, and when you look at your life, what does real success mean to you?
What real success means to me is being able, and I think the late Zig Ziglar said, if you can help enough people get what you want, the world will give you what you need. I want to be able to leave legacies by being able to make a difference in so many lives, those of young people, those of adults, those are less fortunate, because no matter what you say or what you do, people are going to remember how you made them feel and how you transformed them. When people are dealing with fires and they lose everything, one of the things they try to do, they go back and they try to run and find pictures and find things for memories. I want to leave an imprint on your mind and your heart, because when I'm long gone, you know, that is going to stay with you forever. That's the little part of me that stays alive on earth. So if I can make a difference in the life of a child, and another woman, another man, and another human being, if I can make a difference, just that one difference, who knows, that can have the impact of the next great world leader, the great doctor, great teacher, great speaker, great transformer, because of that little seed that I might have planted. And that's what I do. And that's what I love doing. So I wake up every morning. So whose life can I add value to? Whose life? Whose life can I add value to? And that's what success means to me.
Oof. Well, I can tell you, you're definitely achieving it because you've made an impact in my life, and I can almost assure you in our audience's life too. And in closing, our final question, and this is a fun one. What is something about Linda Clemons that we will not find on Google, no matter how much we try?
I used to practice being a ventriloquist. I even have one of the professional dolls, that, and I used to do that many, many years when I was a youngster. And then later on, I ordered a very special doll, a puppet, if you will, like a puppet. And I used to do some fun things with that. And in addition to that, I'm a playwright, so I've written a play, traveled all over the country with it. So yeah, you probably can't find that anywhere. So that's a little secret, and there's more, but that's two. That's the two I'm going to share. That's the two I'm going to share.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Love that. If I have the good fortune of seeing one of your ventriloquist shows, I would be so honored. Oh, Linda, thank you so much for your graciousness. Thank you so much for sharing with us so openly. It has truly been an honor for me having you on the Real Success Show.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Let me know what stood out for you in this episode. I am blown away. Almost every part of this conversation stood out for me. But I think if I had to choose one thing, it would be purpose. How you move forward, that your calling is calling you. Oh, I can't wait to read your comments this week. I cannot wait to see who you want me to speak to and what stood out about this episode for you. As always, it has been my greatest honor and privilege to serve you, and I look forward to doing it again next week.